Hello, powerful beings. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Maya and I'm a shamanic practitioner. And today we are really going to dive into something really powerful. So I invite you to really listen to these words in a meditative state. It's going to be activating and penetrating and triggering. So I'm going to leave it to the mystery. But yeah, let's dive into it. So this video I'm going to talk about, for those, I feel like we can all relate to some degree. If you really go in your deep layer in your body, I think most of us can relate. But for those who experience a deep longing for home, a deep longing for the sacred one, a deep longing for God, a deep longing for your beloved, for your husband or wife, a deep longing for something. And this feeling consciously can be a very painful feeling. And it can drive us into living an existence, especially those in the feminine pole, where we get very clingy and attached. So we're searching, and we're just, because we're longing so desperately, makes us desperate. And we search and we try to attach on the first thing. So, for example, when it comes to finding a partner, a life partner, a husband, a wife, how many of you relate to projecting onto the other? So say you go on your first date with somebody and you project this idea of, this person's gonna be my husband, and you start to project a future and start to fall for a potential, and you start to mask them in an image full of expectations of where things must go. And so that is then your driving force, and you fall in love because you see the potential and what they are mirroring at you, when really it's not even them. It's all in your illusion and your idea of what they can represent in your life. How many of you resonate with doing that once or twice in your life? For sure me. And I still do it all the fucking time, which is why I'm talking about it today. So the longing feeling, especially those who start to walk more on the spiritual path and start to dive more in their bodies and listen to their bodies, you will find that there. Because when we are birthed in this realm, in this 3D world, on this planet, we are literally signing up for we're signing up for losing remembrance, okay? Because if we remembered everything consciously, like if our mind could process and understand everything that exists in the 3D reality, we would be too, we wouldn't be able to be in the human experience, right? If you knew everything, then you wouldn't enjoy the human experience. Like, you wouldn't get so caught up in relationships and the drama of life and in money and finding your life purpose and all this stuff that is so human. You wouldn't be able to play the game because you would already know what's running the game, right? So what fun is that? And then if you already know what's running the game, then how can you learn the lessons that your soul is supposed to come here and learn? Or how can you just merely enjoy the pleasure of being a human? And a human feels the longing and the unity. The human goes through a life of duality all the fucking time. So entering that realm of duality, entering this planet of duality, we must know what longing feels like, so that we know what returning back home, what unification, what wholeness feels like, right? So the moment that we get cut from the umbilical cord is the moment we detach ourselves from source and we say, I'm ready to go as a human now. I'm going to forget everything about where I come from. I'm going to forget all my soul stuff and everything I know. And I am signing up for the human experience. So if you have a deep longing, especially for a partner, you have to get on board with the sensations of the longing itself. What do I mean by that? Well, if you are coming from a space of, I want to find my husband so that I don't have to feel the pain of longing anymore, then that's going to be kind of hard to manifest. You can, but maybe you'll find the husband, but the husband won't fill that deepest desire inside of you, so you're left with longing. What do I also mean by this? When you... So other ways that what I mean by this is, if you come from a space of, I must find my husband to fulfill my longing pain, that also makes you approach life from a very attached space. Now, attachment, that we really demonize that a lot in spirituality and consciousness and conscious relating. We're always going to have some form of attachment. We're going to experience both attachment and non-attachment, just like we're going to experience everything and nothing in this human reality. But if you come from this need, this desperation, and then you attach onto the first man that comes to you and you project all your things, this brings a lack of clarity, and you're not able to see reality for what it really is, and you're not able to practice discernment. And so that's the non-attachment I'm talking about. So when we attach so easily onto that thing that we think is going to fill us, we become disillusioned, the Maia, disillusioned by what it really is. And then we let it trick us to thinking that it's going to be the answers to our prayers. How many of you on a 3D level, so to get away from the mystic talk, how many of you on a 3D level have experienced someone, a friendship, a lover, a situation, a job, where you got it and you were so desperate for it and you got it, and then it didn't live up to your expectations? For sure, me, all the time. I'm not like free from this. I'm not perfect. All the time. Because I project what that thing, that job, that person, that whatever, I project what that's going to give me. And then I step out of myself. I step out of discernment. I step out of my center and my reality to see what it really is and what it's really showing up for me as. And that brings a lot of suffering into our life. That brings a lot of suffering. Which is also something we like to experience as humans. So getting on board with the longing, what does that look like? Like, how do we do that? Getting on board means allowing yourself to feel the underlying pleasure, the underlying orgasmic sensations of that longing. and now deciphering it as not something that's evil or wrong or bad, something that you shouldn't feel. Consciously, you may feel a lot of pain. My heart and its longing, a lot of pain in my heart, in my consciousness. But I wouldn't feel that pain if I didn't want to. Let's take a deep breath. Say it again. I wouldn't feel that pain if I didn't want to. Something so fundamentally kinky and fucked up in me, and I'm saying fucked up not in a judgmental way, I'm saying it more as in like a, yeah, you're kind of fucked up. Like, it wants me. It wants to feel that pain because that is part of the human experience, right? We're taking a step back from right and wrong here, okay? We transcend. We're in a different layer, okay? The right and wrong bullshit, we're not talking about that now. God, the creator, this planet, okay? There's war. There's fucking crazy shit happening in the world all the time. Do you think that that would really exist if there wasn't an aspect of the creator that didn't want it? Because the creator has all the power, right? And if we are our own creators, we have all the power. So if the creator has all the power, and nothing is more powerful than the creator itself, then of course the creator wants to create it. If we had all the power to choose to come to this planet as human beings, then of course we signed up for an experience of duality. We signed up for a life of highs and lows. We signed up to taste darkness, to immerse ourselves in darkness, as well as to immerse ourselves in rainbows and in light. So this is what it means to get on board with the longing in your heart and not seeing it as something to get rid of, but rather something to embrace. And what embracing looks like can be unique for a lot of people. But for me, I get myself in sacred space and I give myself permission to feel it. And I let that longing come up. And at first it's really painful. And I let it happen. And then I drop in deeper and I'm like, okay, shadow, unconscious realm, my inner mysteries. I give myself full permission to feel the pleasure for this longing because something in me really wants to feel it. So I'm going to let myself feel the pleasure. And I may also pleasure my body while I feel that longing to also help with some of the pain that's there. Also by touching myself, masturbation. And that's practices I do. And this is known as existential kink. There is a book on this that I did not write, but it is definitely my Bible, Existential Kink. It's amazing. I'll put the link below. But that's getting on board. That's saying you are something to accept. You are something to embrace. You are something to love. Let me be with it. Let me be with it. That's what that looks like. And that's how you come home to yourself. And in Existential Kink, the author talks a lot about how the more we show up and do these practices where we feel the pleasure for our fucked up patterns or our fucked up pains that we create unconsciously in our life all the time, right? If we didn't want it, if an aspect of ourselves didn't want it, it would not be happening. So she talks about that when you start to show up and you start to actually take ownership and give yourself permission to feel it, the desire dies. And maybe not. Don't have expectations and don't do this practice just so you can get rid of it, right? Just so you can get rid of that desire. But the desire, the power of that becomes less. Its holding on you becomes less. Because it stops needing to keep creating that in your physical reality in order for you to feel it. And it allows you, because you're doing it in sacred space and letting yourself feel it, it's like, cool, I got off. I got to feel it. I got to take ownership of it. I don't really need to create it as much so that this human thing will go out and feel it out in the external world because they're taking ownership of it. Does that make sense? So yeah, this is a practice that I do with all things. And when I started to realize that my pains and woundings and patterns and fucked up things that happened in my life, when I started to realize that actually that's on me, an aspect of me wants to experience that, and I started to take the judgment out of it, and I started to take the, this is wrong or evil out of it, I started to feel way more of my power. And I also saw my life change. I became so empowered as a being. And I took myself out of victimhood. Oh, we love to be the victims. But on an energetic layer, none of us are the victims. None of us are the heroes. None of us are the perpetrators. That's a different conversation. I'm not talking about 3D. I'm talking about energetics, okay? Taking a step back from the judgments of the realities that happen, okay? Because I know some of y'all will come for me in the comments saying, but this, and this happens in the world and there's all these victims. Okay, not talking about that. Taking a step back. And I'm talking about your personal life. And notice in you how many things you want everyone to know you're the victim about. How you're so clung on a story, and how maybe clinging on that story is not serving you. Maybe you just need to take ownership that maybe it's something you wanted to experience in a very fucked up, kinky way. So I will stop there because I can imagine I triggered some of y'all, but that's okay. That means I did my job right. If you have any questions, comment below. I'm really here to serve you. You don't walk alone. And before you comment, I know that some of you will comment from a reactive space before you've even made it to the end, because that's just human behavior. But before you comment, tune in, close your eyes, check in. What feels like your deepest truth? And what feels like a trigger or a reaction? Okay? None of this is personal, even though it feels very personal. So I'm here to support you. I'm here to love you fiercely, as a mother does, as Earth Mother does. She brings you thunderstorms and rain and earthquakes. She brings you pain and darkness of the night because she loves you. And I just want you to remember that. Much love.